Man, can you spell communist invader any more clearly than leaflet and Asari? Like so like this is just one video that proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. So we're going to look at what is an emotional conversation, right? Like you cannot say, oh, you can't do, oh, you have to do logic in the debate because the debate is about emotion. Law is an emotional subject. It's not a logical one. There is no logic there because laws are made by appeal to emotion, not appeal to logic. Because guess who the fucking civilization is? Yeah, the civilization isn't logical. No, like the average human being is going to appeal to their emotions in any legal case. And because of that, this is communist gobbledygook. Now, the reason why I say that, here's a thing you'll notice, right? They're talking about, oh, the companies rely on the illegal labor and stuff, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't rely on the illegal labor. But notice they're not talking about, like, how will we replace the workers or anything, right? And the reason why, that's the point. They don't want to, right? The entire point of this is to weaken and kill the U.S. economy, which will also weaken and kill the U.S. military, right? The entire point of this channel is to be a communist spy, right? This channel is a communist. So let's go by like the communist tactics here.
Taking a look at the Tom Homan interview on ABC.
Because remember, this is going to be important when you realize where your money's gone.
One of the very first appointments Donald Trump made after winning the election in November was tapping one man to be what he calls his border czar. Tom Homan is a former Border Patrol agent and acting director of ICE with decades of experience in Republican and Democratic administrations. I sat down with him this week and began our conversation by asking him about the role of the U.S. military.
We got military on the border.
Now, for those who are wondering, by the way, they have, 1,000 that they've caught? Which, not a small number, but certainly not a big number. Like, 1,000 in a day might seem high until you realize what the numbers they're saying are. I mean, the numbers they're saying are completely dog shit. I mean, if you've seen, like I said, I called it before, but J.D. Vance is the reason why the Haitians were there, and people might be like, but the Haitians acted like they hated Trump when they left. Yeah, dumbass, that's what they were told to do, right? The entire point of like that, like J.D. Vance helped run Ohio. Kamala Harris didn't. So how the fuck were they in Ohio and J.D. Vance could do nothing about it, right? We got a 10th Amendment. Like he could, like the least he could have done is move them out to somewhere else, right? He has the states' rights to do that. If the people wanted it and he could just talk to the other senators and Mike DeWine, and that would have been done. That's the thing, though, right? He knows that he could have done it because he's the one he's the reason they were there in the first place. Anyone who denies that denies the Constitution. And if you deny the Constitution, you deny the reality of the situation. And that's the similar here, right? Like, he's deported everyone. Well, he's deported 1,000 people, but more importantly, it's cost a lot of money, right? Already, and that's kind of an important thing. And also, the person like this is like how they are communists because they bring up, hey, they could have 6 months to fix it, right? It takes about like 5 years. Like Critical has a video on this, right? The Bureau of getting immigration done in the first place legally is corrupt, right? So instead of fixing that corruption first, we do this, right? Now, if we fix the corruption first, gave them 6 months, and then, right? But the thing is, the reason why those deports are happening is because those were ones that were imported by these administrations themselves. That's how they know where to look, too, by the way. Just so you know, that's how they know where to look. That this was like a coup all along. I called that, right? I called that. Like Kamala wasn't gonna win anyway, so I don't know why they were doing that. Like Kamala literally lost on the "I wouldn't change a thing" bit. Like you didn't have to. The economy is why most people voted. You didn't have to make up all this bullshit because most people didn't vote over that. Like you look at why most people voted, it was the crushing economy, my inability to fucking buy a house. I'm like 40 years old and I can't buy a house still because the BlackRock owns everything, right? Like most people, if anything with the left, they want an abolition of BlackRock, which is probably the one thing that will not happen at all. Right, the one thing people are voting on is the one thing that will be least likely to happen, because we're doing Gamergate 2 is just Gamergate but like gayer, and so sadly it suffers the same end, shot for shot, same end, but a little gayer this time, right? This is the issue I had with Gamergate 2. I know exactly how it ends because I've watched it before, right? We're like, we thought it was a sequel. We actually got a shot for shot remake. Everything, right? Like Craig, in them, use cry bully tactics to go after an indie dev now, and that's gonna blow up in their face in a couple weeks. This is ultimately like how it all fails. It all fails. And you've got communists like this bitch. This is really weird how people fall for this twice.
I love how non-bullshit this guy is.
On military planes, but they're helping to build infrastructure. They're putting up constitution.
But he himself is non-bullshit, to be fair, yeah. But notice he ran it like when they were kind of bullshit, though. Like he retired. But when he retired, they were already kind of in, right? So that should tell you that, there's something strange there too, right? Oh, he ran it when they were bullshit. Now he's running again, and somehow they're not bullshit. Nah. Like, the deportations were like people they brought here. And then like later it'll like maybe they'll like start rounding up people who were here already. Most likely they won't. This is usually like Trump's like a very much a talker, not a doer. Sometimes that like the pressure of his words gets people to back down for a bit. Usually it doesn't.
Where they're down there to create a secure border and lock that border down. And DOD's helped administrations before, but not at this level.
And of course, like another thing is, of course, like with AI, US is already lost anyway, because instead of focusing on beating the AI of China, like just by actually making a better service, their problem is that they want to do it through law. But the problem is AI is going to continue anyway, right? You do the law, like the AI is still there, right? The AI isn't going away, so, and it's going to keep advancing. So instead of why we can't compete, we got to take them down with laws. That's not going to work this time. Like now you're dealing with something that like a technology that improves itself, whether those are sanctions or not. So whatever you do, they're going to get better than you, right? So like that's how I know that this is a commie thing anyway, because they're not focusing on anything that actually impacts society that much. Like they'll be like, oh, the fire things. Now people see that, but here's the thing they don't see, because here's an important little bit, right? It's an important little bit. So they also saw like the police doing nothing, so they don't trust the government, right? So using the government as a, hey, we're going to do our job this time, isn't going to go lightly, right? People have their brains already wired. Hey, these guys will only do something if there's like they won't do something to be people, they'll do something to be machines. And so that gets wired in their brain. None of these are good people. We should not trust them. And so they don't, right? So not trusting your own government. Similarly, right, like with a lot of the games industry, not trusting your own games industry, right? Not trusting your own manufacturing, not trusting, like you notice, they're not trusting their own civilization. This is what this is about, right? They're not trusting their own neighbors, is like with this immigration thing. And because of that, this is all to put mistrust in American citizens to divide us so that China can just come in and sweep us out. It's what this actually is, right? Like all that commie funding, and people have hook, line, and sinker, because instead of like just uniting in the fucking like against China, be like, hey, if you whether you spy on us or not, we're going to continue to be ourselves and have fun and improve our freedoms and relations and all that. We decided to actually buy into it, and yeah, so that's why the U.S. is in the place it's in, by the way. Because instead of uniting with each other, we united against each other. I mean, we divided against each other. Yeah, I understood what it was the entire time. I kind of said it before too, but I'm just going to blurt it out now.
So it's
It's
a
the
force
Voldrag.
multiplier, and it's sending a strong signal to the world. Our border's closed.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes.
So, okay. Right. Yes, but here's the problem, right? That's a lot of money.
But you'll see the numbers steadily increase, the number of arrested nationwide as we open.
Yeah, but where is this going to improve our infrastructure or anything? Like you're not getting it, and like my guy, we need to improve the infrastructure now. This isn't helping. This is making it worse immediately, and not immediate. Like we need to improve. Like we can improve it and then fuck them off, but fucking them off first cripples our economy, right? And now our economy is shit, right? And it's even shittier now because we crippled our own infrastructure, right? And now we got to fix it. It's harder when you made the economy worse because now, right? Now it's just going to be nigh impossible to fix, right? Like this is the thing. When the issue is the economy, and this is like giving some uppies, right? They're holding it up. It's not a good foundation, but they're holding it up. If you take down the foundation and just cripple the entire economy, what you do is you make a third world country. First off, that's like one of the things that happens. But more importantly, you just cause famine and disaster and all that all over the place. It's not good. Like you're focusing on symptoms, not the problem, which is, this is a communist, right? That's the reason why they want us to do that. Because instead of, we've got a bad infrastructure, right? You might think the foundation of the infrastructure is like the court. No, that's not how it works with infrastructure. The problem with infrastructure actually works top down. Like BlackRock, owning like most of the property in the United States is the actual issue. You take down BlackRock, immediately everything else starts to solve itself anyway. But notice we're not focused on that. In fact, has Trump even fucking mentioned BlackRock once? Well, the reason why is because, well, you might not know this, but it's pretty obvious. Heritage and BlackRock are basically the same guy. Like the left and right, they horseshoe together, right? Well, this is the far left and far right. They're horseshoeing together. They all have, they all have interests with each other in each other's companies. The entire point is a communist dystopia America. So like China can just wipe us out.
Open up the aperture. Right now it's constant.
All right, Invictus, something entertaining. It's been a while.
never
I didn't
ending.
know
Era of
Vindictus was
heroes.
still around.
Oh my god. He literally said yes, and we're just getting started. That's literally what he said.
Okay, what's based about that, right? So 1,000, all right, that costs like $1 billion, right? So we're going to spend several trillion to solve an issue, right? Right? Like we're gonna spend more money solving this, which is going to, become double the U.S. debt, right, by the end of the year, and will only have solved a quarter of the issue, right? You're with me here, right? If you are an actual person, you understand that is like where I'm getting at, right? Like you can't just do things because some paper lets you do it if you don't have an actual reason for it. The idea of law as a law is not logical because the law is founded upon emotion. So if you're founding it upon emotion, the law is an emotional argument, and therefore my family and friends aren't fucking doing this shit, and you're trying to deport them is a better argument. Anyone who says otherwise is a fucking enemy of the United States, because guess what? That's how the United States was founded, you fucking retards. The law was bad. Did we change the law? No, we fucking killed the law. We murdered it. We fought a revolution to fucking make them die and get the fuck out of here, right? Right? We killed the law that we didn't like, right? We just went out, killed it, right? And that was it. That's how it was solved, right? We just fought it and won, right? And it's the same thing that happened like in the Civil War. A lot of the Confederate nations, basically, right? They wanted to go with legal loopholes to say that, okay, we have states' rights, but you don't. So can you just... And then, we were like, okay, whatever. And then they seceded, and then we invaded them. And then they decried states' rights, states' rights, states' rights, because we invaded their enemy nation after they already gave up their states' rights by leaving the nation. It's how secession works. Like, you're no longer part of the union that gave you that rights, so we no longer have to respect those rights because you're no longer part of the nation that gives you those rights, right? That's the funny shit about the states' rights argument, because the states' rights argument talks about after the Confederacy was already founded. Because if it's before it, the Confederate states were the ones that were breaking states' rights by invading other states' borders to get their runaway slaves back, despite that being against the law of federally, right? But because a lot of states didn't make those laws themselves, right? So, okay. But some of those states didn't like that, and so they started putting laws up. And then they're like, well, you put these laws up later. So, this is the thing, right? Ultimately, the law isn't the law. What is the law is emotion. And you know what? Emotion's what drives battle and drives morale, right? So no one got morale because of logic. We got morale because we got some emotion, right? We got something to fight for. Logic doesn't win wars, emotion does, because you get enraged at the enemy, you have a love for your allies, right? You actually have a will to fight. Logic doesn't give you that because you can't get a will, because a will is an emotion. So why are you fighting, right? This is the exact reason why, all the wars we fought before, we lost after World War II, because we no longer had an emotional attachment to the war, right? This is the most hilarious bit. You need an emotion to do anything with this kind of scale, because morale requires that.
He's like,
So where is the emotional part? Because it's not illogical here. It's not a fallacy here. this is the debate, right? Logical fallacies are only fallacious if the debate like isn't about them, right? Like if the debate is on someone's character, ad hominems are ultimately going to be every argument, right? Because that's the debate. The only reason ad hominems are fallacious is because the debate isn't about someone's character, right? So like a debate, like if you ad hominem, like, you know, like talk about character flaws about Jesus Christ, and the debate is, does God exist? Not is God good? Well, then you fail, right? Because, well, these aren't, like these aren't related, right? Like God can be an evil piece of shit, right? And he'd still exist, right? But is God good? Well, now those character assassinations do work potentially, right? And that's the thing. Like, you know, people like can eat my ass on that. That's how that debate works, right? But like the thing is, those are only flaws because the debate itself is outside of that realm. Because we're talking about law and law and like all like just really just law, right? But law and government overreach and abuse of authority and all that. Emotion is tied to the debate, therefore you cannot reasonably discard it. Like you are actually irrational for discarding it. Believe it or not, like there are times where emotion is part of the debate, and therefore disregarding emotion is actually being irrational. This is one of them.
You think it's bad now? We haven't even started yet.
Okay, so kill the economy, right? I get the communist incentive. I get it.
Public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going to do this on priority base, as President Trump's promised, but as that aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide.
When you talk about the aperture opening, the estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
I don't understand. Why is this such a point of contention?
Because that's how it is. Like, you need the economy. If the economy relies on this, yes, it's a point of contention, right? Ultimately, you need the economy. You need the people having good morale. You need trust within the walls of the nation. If this is what is being driven, you are ruining the nation. You are killing the economy. You are just dividing people against each other. And this is why I know it's communist, right? So, like, well, you can keep going, but like you're just exposing yourself. You're like, your hair should be red, not blue. You know, I'm seeing red. I'm seeing some sickles and hammers in your eyes. All right.
I don't understand. There are people who are criminals. By the way, if you try to stay in the country illegally, you're already a criminal.
Right. Okay. So you like appeal to emotion also, because criminal is an appeal to emotion. All right. So you've already appealed to emotion yourself. There we go.
Even that action. So there are a bunch of people.
Like, you think it's logic? No, like, because criminal isn't a static state, right? What's criminal is like, okay, a good way to say it, right? The law, right? Our prison system holds 1.8 million people right now, right? So that's the law, like the actual extent of it, right? So these are the people who commit crimes in the United States. Less than 0.5% of the population, right? So, and you can say, like, because of like the prison like recoup rate, that about 30% of that number not 30, like 20% of that number is going to only have one offense, right? So we can kind of do a little bit of math and say maybe we'll double it. So we'll have 1% of the United States population commits crimes, right? Just right there. Now with this immigration policy, right? We've declared 10% of the population commits crimes, right? Just overnight we said, okay, instead of the system we had where 1% of the population was committing crimes, now it's 20%. Just overnight, just 20% of the 10% of the population is a criminal, right? It was 1% before, now it's 10%. Just overnight, right? You get the idea, right? Like, okay, wait, 10% of the country? Yeah, and it's just overnight. Like, just because of, it's not even a change in the law, it's a change in the attitude. And just a change in the attitude changed that number to be 10%. And this is a problem because now instead of focusing on violent crime and stuff that actually matters, we're focusing on all this shit. And because a lot of this is sadly, for whatever reason, the backbone of the economy, well, now the economy's dead. 10% of the population is either deported or in prison. Like, yeah, it's weird. Alex Jones talks about a prison planet, and then like there's actually a prison state. I don't know. I'm just noticing some patterns here. Using my brain, pattern-seeking brain, past what I'm being shown and told to think, but actually like what I'm like looking at the entire picture, which is the other thing. Like, notice how like she's saying, keep it at the picture. Keep looking at this speck of the picture. Don't look at the whole thing. Just look at where my eyes want you. Look at where my eyes want you. My eyes are red. They've got hammers and sickles. So you can trust them.
That don't respect our laws, and we are sending those people back, and people don't want that. Like, what the fuck?
Don't respect our laws. I mean, they do. I mean, if they didn't, they would be breaking the others, but they don't. At least like 99% of the 20 million anyway. Now maybe like the 1%, but that's the same percentage of people who are here legally that commit crimes. So really, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the same percentage of people in both cases. And yeah, it is actually less than 1%. This is like why like crime statistics are a retarded argument in the first place, because crimes are ultimately an outlier in any given population group. So like, why are we like talking about them as like a profiling thing, right? Like the profile you don't need because very so few people even do it, right? And the reason why is like, well, we're going to prevent them from committing crimes. That's not how authority works. Either they're committing a crime already, or they're not, right? Like that's how we were founded, right? Now, right now, we're going against their constitution. We're going against innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, because we want to say, well, these people might not be citizens. We don't know it. Well, that's a little weird, right? It's a little weird to throw out half the fucking constitution. And yeah, that's half. Half of your constitution is saying they have to prove you are guilty if they're the government before they can actually move. Yeah, that's in the government, right? You have to prove beyond reasonable doubt with evidence in a court of law that you are guilty in order to say anything about someone being a criminal. That's the law. That's the actual law. So we've got anti-constitutional laws, sure. All right.
I'm so confused. I don't understand.
Illegally, you're on the table because it's.
And again, how is that fair to people that came here legally? It's not fair. They waited.
Who cares about fairness? I'm gonna be honest. Who cares about fairness? When the unfairness, like the solution to the unfairness, is to make it even more unfair. Because here's the thing, right? We're killing the economic, like GDP of our country, right? Okay, so, all right, so we're gonna make less money, all right. We're spending way more money than we were, all right. That's also bad. We're collecting less taxes. Ooh, that's even worse. Yeah, like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to increase the U.S. national debt by an incredibly large margin, right? And another thing, of course, right? I thought we were supposed to abolish all these bureaucratic agencies, right? And I thought like we were going to do them by like what cost it so much and was inefficient. So why haven't we done that yet? Like IRS, but like that's the only one that's not actually inefficient. Funnily enough, the IRS are the only ones that do their job right every single time. Like ICE is like I'm not talking about ICE. ICE is actually usually pretty efficient too, which is funny. Like we're acting like they were inefficient the last few years. Like they would do these roundups before too, right? Like they're not doing them every single day. Yeah, because like most people don't care that much. And that's the other thing. Most people don't care that much. Yeah. Well, first off, I love how they'll wait. Are you talking about the same two people though? Because this is the thing. Like they always talk about like groupthink and all that, but this isn't left versus right. This is normal people versus abnormal fucking like communists and shit. Okay, so they'll use who's the they though? Are they the same people? Because this is the thing. If they're not the same people, you are wrong. Because you're conflating two different people as a group of the same people. But that's not how opposition to a thing works, right? There might be some commies that are like pretending to be left wing for that reason. Sure. But ultimately, there is no single they, right? It's not a single they in any opposition to you. The they is there's some people who are disingenuous like that, and then most people are pretty hard on. That's the thing. Let's keep that in mind.
In line, they want to be good citizens. They want to follow the law, and we're gonna let all of the illegal people skip the line. Like, dude, that's so bullshit.
Okay.
Well, we let them skip it for 50 years. Yeah. I mean, so we've apparently let him commit a crime for 50 years, and never had a problem with them before, right? We say we had a problem with them. We've bitched about it, but we've never done anything because there was no problem, right? When there's a now we've noticed there's only been a problem when Trump wants to get elected. Like we're starting to notice a pattern here, because that's a thing. Like no one really had a reason to care, because no one really actually talked about these things, right? And no one actually talked about these things because Trump didn't need to get elected. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Are we building a case of communist invasion using the Donald Trump election as a reason to further weaken the United States resources and trust in their own infrastructure so that we can invade them as China? Is that what we're doing? Yeah, that's what she's doing. I like this guy might not know he's helping with that, but that's what he's doing.
Violate laws of this country. You got to remember, every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime.
Exactly.
So if you're in a country illegally...
Okay, you notice how he gave the title, right? All right, so we'll look at that up, right? Because here's another thing, right? What about states' rights here? And that might actually bite them in the ass, because they'd have to either say, hey, Texas, you have no 10th Amendment right on this issue, even though you actually do. Believe it or not, they actually can just say, no, we want them here. It's our state. But if they violate the state's rights there, then they actually do violate the state's rights. Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with that too, right? Because ultimately, if one of the states that relies heavily on this labor says no, either he has to follow that because he cannot supersede state authority as a federal officer, right? This is actually how the United States laws work, by the way, you commie cuck. But if that happens, right, because that is a thing, he has to breach the constitutional rights of a state in order to continue doing it. And if that's what happened, if a state declares, no, we're not letting you do this anymore, you gotta go somewhere else if you want to continue doing this, and he continues, that is a act of treason. And because he works for the president, that would make Trump guilty of treason as well as his cabinet. That's what we're dealing with. You got to actually respect the Constitution. The federal law cannot break states' law. If the states say no, the federal government got to go, right? Either they do or they breach the constitutional rights of the United States of America. Okay? That's really all the state has to do is just say no. Like, you know that, right? Like, this is at the point a state can just say no to any of these, and yet, and if anyone says, "Well, Trump's the president," then fuck the president. He doesn't get to decide states' rights. He gets to decide military stuff, right? So things that involve the federal government, the military, and shit like that. But if we declare you don't have authority here, we're using our states' rights to get you the fuck out. You cannot do anything there. If you try to, you are breaching the Constitution and announcing yourself as a traitor to the United States. So, like, this is all for just for like a ruse, right? They're getting rid of the people they brought here to help people vote, and they're going to try to say like, "Oh, I did this," and then like, yeah, it's ultimately what's going to happen. Because they can't sow too many seeds of doubt to the point where, hey, the guy that we just elected to be the commie plush toy, is apparently like, so that's the thing. But the thing is, Trump might not be that, right? Because I don't think Trump is. I think Trump just does things to get elected. So therefore, they're probably not going to go with this bitch's fucking retarded plan because they know, yeah, if we do that and the states say no, we actually cannot. And that's the thing, by the way. The states own their state, right? And especially with the way taxes are going to work now, they say no, you got to go. The federal government, not the people. So, just note that, right? Because that's going to be important later.
You got a problem, and that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally who have not been ordered removed by the federal judge should leave.
Well, you are emphasizing that you go after national security.
You know what we should do? This is what we should do. We should tell all of the people that are here illegally right now.
The Dems want more people in their states before the next census.
Thanks for the bits, Gabagool. Thank you. Yeah, that is a thing as well. Is like a immigrant population because inflation, because it doesn't actually count citizens, it just counts total people. And that's for things like the Electoral College and representatives. But
the Electoral College is this bitch doesn't even know the problem with the actual problem with the Electoral College. Okay, so did you know that the state can just overturn the people's vote because the people don't vote for the government, like the president? Like, they vote for please state pick our guy, right? The only election that matters with voting as a citizen is the local election. And because like you know that, right? Like, if the state can just overturn the people's vote, then you don't have a vote for the national election. You never did. So like the idea that anyone, like, you can't, no, it doesn't matter who it is. You can't rig the Electoral College at the national level, only the local level. And the reason why is because the politicians can just say no. Like, your vote doesn't matter. They can say no. And because they can say no, just because it hasn't happened yet, they have the right to. And that them having the right alone should know, yeah, your vote doesn't actually count here. Right? Because if they can just overturn it, then there is nothing there, right? There is no like reason to talk about voter fraud in the election where you don't actually vote. Right? The popular vote and like states votes and all that are just blibber blah jokes. The actual vote, is not that, like, the popular vote, the states votes don't matter. The electoral votes matter, right? The reason why the electoral votes are the only thing that matters is because they're the only ones that actually vote. People think that if their state wins, that the electoral college has to pick their thing. But in 42 states, they don't. And even in the 8 states they do, the worst they face is a very small fine. No jail time, just a fine. So, like, even in the 8 states where they have laws against it, it's a small fine. So the 50 states, it might as well be completely legal because anyone who's in government can afford that fine. Like, so it's a very small deterrence, right? So because of that, it's not even in the case because who the fuck cares, right? About that. Like, your vote doesn't actually matter there. Your vote matters in local elections. It doesn't matter in national ones. It never did. It never will. That's not how it works because the Electoral College literally says it doesn't because you don't actually have a say, even if 100% of the citizens who aren't politicians voted for Trump, or whatever, if the government vote wanted Kamala, she would have won. You know how I know that? Because they're the ones that pick her, not us. Right? So, like people think that's how it works because it seemed to work in their favor every time. But ultimately, the government decides the president. You never did. But, it tends to be like the least bad turd. But like the thing is, you got to vote locally. Like not voting, like Gavin Newsom is a problem, right? Actually a problem. You know who's not a problem? Who's not a problem? Like the average fucking voter. Right? Keep that in mind. Because that's important. Report all the 11 minute, the 11M, and then throw in some H1Bs for good measure. You're proof. Trump's the reason why the H1Bs are happening, though. So what are you talking about?
Anyway, what I was going to say, this is what they should do. If I were in charge, this is the law. This is the policy I would have, okay? Anyone that's here illegally in the country, if you get caught, you're permabanned. You're permabanned from the United States, never coming back. You're not even being let into the country ever. You're literally for life, you're banned from the United States. That's my policy. And then what I would say is, okay, there's an amnesty period. You have 6 months to leave and then we won't ban you. But if we catch you, you're fucking permabanned. That way, like, we give people a chance to like actually like get out on their own dime, on their own. And, okay, fine. You got out. But if we catch you and we have to catch you, we have to deport you, permabanned.
Notice how they're not talking about, actually signing the papers and stuff. The reason is that she knows that it takes forever, and that even if you do sign the papers, for some reason they just a random dude can just say no, even though everything's in triplicate as legal. Like that's the thing, right? Very few people can get here legally because they'll just say no, we're not doing it. And if you don't believe me, I know this retard is a communist, so her job is going to be to not. But here we go. Let's do Charlie. Immigration, right? Let's just look up someone who had to deal with this. To do critical. All right. Well, we'll do critical, right? A very popular, very normal person, average U.S. citizen.
You in position yet?
So let's go. Average U.S. citizen.
The title's not clickbait. I am actually suing U.S. immigration. I'm sure a lot of you already know the reason why, but let me catch you up to speed for those of you that might not know the lore. So, hop on in. Let me take you on a little adventure here.
This is actually why, like, there's so many people who don't commit crimes that actually respect U.S. soil that still enter here illegally. Because you might be surprised, like, the bullshit you have to do to be here legally isn't even what you actually have to do. What you have to do is you have to do that bullshit, get approved, and then when you get here, you have to also have all those papers, have that approval, and then you have to be approved again. The problem is, the approve again part, right? Because a person can just say, I don't really want to work today. And then that just ends the debate, right? Right? Because we're not fixing government corruption. That's still going to be a problem.
Through this infuriating journey
and that's
of
what this
dealing with
video
U.S.
is. It's basically someone, he did everything, and all the files formed, everything was stamped, approved, and all that. They got there, everything was stamped and approved. The person who is, doing the immigration there said, I don't feel like it, effectively, right? Like, they were like, oh, well, we lost it, right? Even though they had it. So keep that in mind. That's important. And remember, these are like friends of his from Australia,
and in particular,
who are there just to compete in a competition, right? Everything was signed, everything was done to the letter of the law. They were just coming here for a competition. Everything was notarized and all that ahead of time, and it was still rejected. And the reason why it was rejected, a single person said no. So we're going after we're going after a symptom, not the actual problem.
Threats you have,
and that's how you know it's communism. Anyone who supports it is a commie because they're talking about symptoms, not about problems, right? If they're not breaking the laws and they're and all that, then they aren't a problem, right? And if ultimately, in order to get rid of them, you have to violate the Constitution, then you become a problem, right? Because ultimately, the states can just say, nope, get out of here, get out of here, ICE. And if they don't comply, ICE is becoming a traitor. And whoever gave them the orders is also a traitor. You get the idea, right? That's how states' rights actually works, right? Like we're not talking about the Civil War. We seceded, and now we don't have that right anymore because we gave up all our rights because and declared ourselves an enemy nation. So our states' rights now are for our states, but we also don't have the states' rights for your union. So you invading us is still not actually a violation of that. We're going to pretend it is because we're going to, even though we declared ourselves an enemy nation, we're still going to LARP that we're the union for ever and ever until the end of time. It was an enemy nation. Once you secede, you don't have states' rights anymore because you're no longer part of the Constitution that protects you, right? But because these aren't seceding, that would be a violation of the 10th Amendment of the United States of America. Yeah. And you might be wondering, but we're protecting criminals. Look at the Constitution, right? Like just the Bill of Rights. We're not looking at anything else. All right. Let me actually pull up this Constitution because Constitution, right? Right, the Constitution of the United States of transcription. All right, so let's see. Let's go to the amendments, right? All right. Okay, where's the? All right, here we go. Right, it's Article 3. Oh, it's Article 4, right? Oh, damn, it's a lot longer than that. Anyway, we're not. This isn't where the amendments are listed. Okay. Bill of Rights. Here we go. Yeah, Bill of Rights. No. All right. Okay. Fuck you. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Right. So, quartering of so we got the First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech, assembly, religion. You get the idea. So you can say and believe what you want, unless your actions are actually causing harm to a person, like direct harm to a person. You can't, like, you are not a problem, right? So unless you're like doing cult stuff, basically, and murdering people, we can't do anything about these, right? Or like you're lying, right? That's another thing that can be breached about this. But otherwise, you have the right to say and believe whatever you want. First Amendment. All right. Second Amendment. Right to bear arms, as well as as well as have a well-regulated militia, right? So like this is a comma is very important. So you have the right to bear arms; it shall not be infringed. All right, quartering of soldiers. Yeah, believe it or not, this is the Third Amendment. No soldier shall, in a time of peace, be quartered in any house without consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner prescribed by law. Right. So basically, unless the state says so, you are not required to allow a soldier in your home. Search and seizure. The right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. This has been violated countless times. And yeah, but like this is already like the most violated amendment in the Constitution. So shall not be violated, no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. In other words, the fact that the police are and FBI and all that are not getting all this information ahead of time is against the Constitution, especially ICE and FBI, because they are dealing federally, so they actually have to follow this. So already he's breaking the Constitution, but we're going to go even further. Grand jury, double jeopardy, self-incrimination, due process, and takings. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases in the land or naval forces or in the military. So basically, if you're in here and not overseas, you actually you have to be proven to a grand jury that you're guilty, unless like you're a soldier. Believe it or not, this is a very weird exception, but it is an exception in the Constitution. If you are a soldier, you basically are state property. That's really what that's saying. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be put in jeopardy of life or limb. Yeah, double jeopardy is actually in the Constitution. It's not in a state. So actually, anyone who allows that is breaking the Constitution. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Yeah. Like, a lot of this is violated, right? Like, a lot of this is violated, like, just every day by the government, but yeah. Yeah, right to speedy trial by jury, witnesses, counsel. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature of the cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have assistance of the counsel for his defense. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if we're going by the way the Constitution was originally written, there was no like laws on borders. You know what there was a law on though? If you own property, you're a citizen. Like that's actually how citizens were done before. If you had your name on property in the United States, you were a citizen, right? People overturned that, right? Because they wanted, hey, everyone who's born here, right? But when we went back, like you buying a house is what made you a citizen. Not you being born here, not like anything else. You purchasing property is what made you a citizen. And of course, you might be wondering, like, why does that matter? Well, a lot of the people who are supposedly here illegally have property here, which means they aren't here illegally. Yeah, but by the original version of the Constitution, if we didn't amend it with, the laws we did, they are citizens, so they are here legally. Just by virtue of them buying a house or a small business or anything like that, they are no longer here legally. By the by the way we originally ran things, that's how it was. Just be aware of that, right? A jury trial in civil lawsuits, in suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20. I mean, to be fair, it was a lot of money back then. The right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined by the court of the United States and according to the rules of the common law. I feel like this should be cause for inflation, like $2 to $5 grand. But also people usually don't use that law. Like you have to still use your rights, right? You have the rights, but you have to use them to excessive fines, cruel. And you get the idea here. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Basically, you can't torture. You can't say they have to be tortured in a pit of boiling acid. That one's usually not infringed at all. The worst they'll do is deny bond entirely if you're considered a threat to the people if you are on the streets. That's really the worst they'll do, and that's not even that. That's basically they can't give you $1 jillion bail. They have to give you so really if the bail exceeds 10 million, you're usually there's none, right? So if they would have your bail at 10 million, you don't have bail usually, right? So that's the thing. The non-enumerated rights retained by people. The enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So the states can't basically the states can't overturn the Constitution, but they can overturn everything else. Rights reserved to states or people. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So the entire Constitution, right? We've got this, and to a lesser extent this and this, and really this and this. As if you don't like how the law is written, you can you actually have the right to defend yourself against it at any point in time, and they have to give you that right. So yeah. What are we going with blue-haired commie? I'm going with the Constitution as it's written. What are you going with? What are you going with? Blue-hair wokey.
Said no one's off the table if you're in the country.
That's the thing. We're we're going to go with the law as it's written now, but pretend it's with the Constitution. But I just said the Constitution, so you can't pretend it's with the Constitution because you're violating it. To be fair, a lot of those rights are violated by Democrats too, but that doesn't give you the right to violate them. That just says hey, be consistent, take the high ground. But she doesn't want them to take the high ground because she's a communist. She wants the destruction of the United States. She wants both parties to do bullshit and just ruin the entire economic flow and justice flow. I know what she's about. I know what she's about. I can see it in her red commie eyes.
You'll be looking over your shoulder. You should.
My immigrant grandparents worked through the legal way of becoming United States citizens. They praised General MacArthur and taught me how to be proud as an American. I am an American first before my ethnicity.
Hell yeah.
I advocate for banning illegal immigrants even from my own.
Yeah, the thing is, really, McCarthy wasn't really the problem. It was post-McCarthy. people decided to make it harder to immigrate. Because, like, this is the thing. They're talking about, you said they're talking about boomers here, right? Like, boomers, like, act like they had it hard when they had it the easiest, right? Every generation past boomers, there have been so many laws and regulations passed that make the things that they enjoy impossible. And then they say, well, why aren't you enjoying these same things? Have you ever, like, actually looked at what your people did? Because your people were fucking awful, boomers. You made it so it's not possible to do those things. I don't fucking give a shit. You're a boomer. You're ultimately an enemy of the United States at this point. Just the age bracket of boomer should be like declared a national enemy. Like, the amount of times I've seen boomers like actually be communists, like work with like BlackRock and all that shit, is like basically 90%. Everyone else we have criticisms of certain like things and all that, right? Boomers are like just like they do all the voting and stuff, but then they actually legitimately just ruin the country, and they've been doing it a lot.
Country.
But,
How is that
yeah,
controversial? It's not. If you want
it is controversial, clearly, because people are talking about it. You fucking retard. like if we're gonna go with that, if people are talking about it, it's controversial. That's what controversy means. You fucking imbecile. So if people are talking about it, they're having a debate, it's controversial. So first off, we're going with definitions of words. It's very controversial because people are talking about it with different opinions. So like shut the fuck up, you fucking retarded commie bitch. Get your fucking red eye and sickle ass out of here with your blue hair wokey ass, and let's actually talk about what's actually in the law ourselves, because I just proved this shit's illegal anyway. So how about we go by, hey, the Constitution says it's illegal, so fuck off.
Be an immigrant and you want to be a part of America, you have to come in legally and you have to respect our laws. Bottom line, if you don't respect our laws, you don't respect us, you don't respect the country.
But what are our laws, right? The laws are different per state. Believe it or not, the states are the ones who decide the laws. Federal decides laws on things that are federal level, right? But they actually don't actually get to decide, like, unless you're like commit crimes across state lines and you're just constantly running from the law, you actually aren't like federally breaking the law, right? The states have to decide. The federal doesn't have authority there, right? Like, that's how that works in the Constitution. Like, you have to break the law in accordance to the state, not the feds. But like, because we have the FBI, which also, funnily enough, doesn't serve its purpose. I mean, literally, what was the foundation of the FBI? Oh, right, we're going to take out Al Capone, and then they just become Al Capone's puppets. Anyone remember that? Yeah. So using federal authority when federal authority is known to be corrupt is the most retarded shit ever. Federal authority is doing what I want now, okay? But it's not going to all the time. Like, so, like, like, it's not, and it's constitutional that you should never trust them.
You should just get out. It's that simple.
No, actually, it's not, because the states' rights override your fucking shitty argument. Like, they're there because the states want them there, right? So the states can just say, I don't fucking care, motherfucker. Like, grow some brain cells, dumbass, and read the Constitution, you piece of shit. I can say no. And if they say no to that no, kill them. You're a traitor, right? And that's the thing. Ultimately, when we have that as the thing, if the state says, okay, we're declaring our states' rights here, and Trump is like, Trump dies. Like, that's how it is. It just die. Because now we got the Second Amendment right we're using on your ass. You're violating the Constitution. Die. It's that simple. It's that simple. Listen to the Constitution, not this fucking dumbass commie bitch.
Start packing now. Is that what you're doing to get...
And yeah, that is actually in the Constitution. You can just kill the president if he becomes that. That's the Second Amendment. The reason why it's there is because the country was founded by people who, back then, another way like to show how language evolved, rebel means terrorist, so we were terrorists against Britain. We won, right? And the principles of our rights are primarily in the values that we had, against the British military. So we want taxes to have representation in their own country. That's part of it, right? We don't want taxes unless a representative that we decide, gets to help with how they're divvied out and stuff. So like that's the main one, right? That's the main one, right? We want our own government, basically. That was literally like the main thing we fought for. But another thing we fought for, like, the reason why there's so many rights protecting criminals, and also a right in the Constitution that says you can fight a tyrannical dictator, is because, right? It's literally because we had already done that. Okay. So yeah, if you think the government is going against your constitutional rights, you can literally just assassinate it, and it will be constitutional that you can if you're a state. That is actually a thing, and like that's not how secession works. You didn't declare yourself seceding. You're declaring, this guy's violating the Constitution. I'm killing him out of defense of the Constitution. And once that happens, if he dies, there is no trial there. He dies, and that's it. Because, the thing is, the due process, the government gives you the due process. That's their social contract, right? They take that away, they are violating their end first. So they are the enemy first, right? That's how that works, right? You violate the social contract, you are the problem. You have to acknowledge the social contract to be part of and keep up your end of the bargain. So yeah, I already said what the bargain was just from the first 10, right? First 10 of the amendments of the U.S. Constitution. I set what the bargain was, right? What their end of the bargain was. So they have to uphold that, right, at all times. And if they don't, that's what happens. Right? Are you starting to get it? I don't think you are. I think you're going to pretend not to, but because you're a commie retard, I can see it in your red eyes. There's some hammers and sickles in the little reflections there. And you're a blue hair wokey. Let's face it. Don't never trust a blue hair wokey. It's never a good idea.
And the thing is people will use all sorts of emotional. This is the problem, and this is why I like this guy so much, because he's not emotional.
Okay, so he's not emotional. What? But emotions are what we're talking about. Laws and people. Argument from emotion is superior. It's in that realm of conversation. You fucking dumbass commie bitch. All right. So emotion overrides facts here. It overrides facts, not just logic. Facts. Okay. So we're dealing with, you're telling us that the realm of the conversation is irrelevant to the conversation because you want it to not, you want thing, but then I already proved with logic that it's not how that works. So now emotion and logic are against you because this is the thing. He's not using the law. He's using the written letters of a federal law, but it goes against the Constitution. So we have the Constitution, which overrides him, and it also overrides the states. And we have the states, which can override him. You get the idea, right? He is a nothing burger in this entire conversation. He is a fucking useless retard. He's a bald cunt, effectively, right? If anyone on a state level says no to him, he has to comply or he gets shot. It's how it works, right? Let's bring back like the old 1783 era United States. Okay, let's do that. They have property here. They're not illegal. They can't be by the U.S. Constitution. All right, and so we've already got that established. They own property here. They pay taxes. All right, they're citizens then. Now let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
People use all sorts of emotional manipulation, like, oh, but like, they just don't have any money, and like, they want to move somewhere, like, they.
Well, no, that's actually not the argument. The argument is actually that I'm just gonna say the argument is actually that they have been here for 20 plus years, done nothing wrong, and the states want them there. So like he has to respect that. Actually has to. Like if someone's here legally and the people want them there, he has to respect that the people in the state decided they get to stay, or he's a traitor to the United States. You get where I'm getting at, right? We have rights that you don't realize that override any laws. And once you try to take them away, you are a fucking loser. Because we get to shoot you now. And, that's the thing. Like, we're talking about Texas, right? Like, as one of these potential states, right? So Texas says no. What are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do when Florida starts to say no? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if any of these like big mega gun states say no because they saw it going too far? Well, now you've got people armed to the teeth, pissed off at you, and you fucked up. This guy's going to be more bullet than man if he tries to go the way he's saying for all of them. And the reason why, like I said, they own property here. Legally, they aren't even illegal anymore for a vast majority of them. Their names are on deeds of property. Like, the only reason they aren't considered citizens here legally is because the fucking, border, the fucking immigration policy doesn't want to actually respect them. But they actually are here legally now. Like, that's how it would work if we applied the Constitution to it, right? Like they got property here, they're there, right? They're legal. They're legally here. About like 90% of them are here legally. So really it's just 2 million. But we want to say it's 20 million. But in reality, constitutionally, it's 2. Now we can say it's just those 2 million. But then you also have to remember, if you do that, then you have to respect that. Then the people have to both break laws and not be, they have to be like the fucking Haitians that J.D. Vance imported. And once that happens, right, it becomes, hey, wait, I thought there was a 20 million, now it's like a couple 100,000, and it's all people in states that you helped run. Oh, right? Like people might open their eyes though, and that's the issue. Trump played a dangerous game, and people just have to pay attention to see what it was, right? Because either he tries to finish the game this way, which will literally end with a bullet in his head. He will die. That's how that works. Or he plays it actually like dumb. He tries to play dumb and say well, it's J.D. Vance's fault, which actually might be, to be fair. He might not know about it. It is the thing; they might not be corroborating as much as I'm saying here. But if that's the case, well, J.D. Vance gets arrested, right? Right? Okay. But that's the thing, right? Like, we're dealing with people clearly violated portions of their own social contract to get elected, right? I mean, it's not like it's just Republicans. Gavin Newsom did that, right, with California, right? But like we're talking about Gavin Newsom in California. We're not talking about everyone everywhere. All right.
They want to move somewhere that has more opportunity. Well, you know what? You should fix your own country. Go fix your own country. And then they'll say like, oh, you think of the children, they're crying and stuff like that. Like the truth is, I don't really care. And I know, I know, you know, people are going to say I sound like a bad person because I don't care.
No, you sound like a communist, actually. You sound like you're funded by, you sound like you're funded by Tencent or something. Which, if I look, let's see where I find it, right? Let's see where I find it. First, let's look here. All right. So Twitch, yeah, already bad. Patreon, TikTok. All right, we're starting to get like a pretty good picture of a commie right there, just right off the bat. Okay. But let's go with like let's see their old game content. We're gonna do like a little deep dive. All right, so I'm noticing a lot of Chinese games. All right, that's already a bit of a red flag, right? A few the Japanese games, okay, but a few like games that are clearly funded by Tencent already. Oof, right? Just going back 1 year, right? We've got 10-cent shit. All right. We're gonna keep going. All right. So only 3 years of a channel. Already sus. Right there. It's whatever, right? But yeah, it's gonna need a. We're going to need a wider footprint on this person to truly prove it. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, it's not looking that good. It's not looking that good. Now, let's continue.
Because they're breaking the law. You don't get to cry and then get your way when you're breaking the law. It doesn't work that way. It
actually does. I mean, look at any millionaire. It actually does. Like what are you talking about, dumbass? It's funny if you pay attention. You know she's full of shit. And is either like there are two things. Either she is appealing to emotion in that she wants the United States government to not be the most corrupt, shitty thing ever. And she is appealing to emotion that it's not. Or she recognizes that it is and is doing this to manipulate you. All right. There are two cases. Either she is beyond white-pilled or she's a communist.
That's what when that happens to children, they become spoiled. That's what I'm saying. Is that we should expect other people to respect us and respect our laws, respect our country. And if you don't,
okay, they do though, right? Like if the states are allowing them there, the government can't say no, right? That's how that works. Like if ICE is really just violating the states' rights by existing, then it needs to be abolished. That's how that actually works, by the way. So are we saying ICE needs to be abolished, or that it's okay to violate states' rights when you want them to, right? Because if the states want them there, they get to stay. You know that, right? You know that, right? That's how it works.
oh, then you don't belong here.
Do you think you have what it takes to make like it never even happen? Then you belong at the #1 brand and property restoration.
Like, go back to China.
Tell workers out or people working on farms that they'll be so scared they just leave?
Look, yeah,
It's always the they're working on farms. They're working on farms, or they're working they're picking our crops. Like,
if you're in the country.
Well, actually, yeah, no, that is actually also false. Like, if anything, they're landscapers, which is actually a good job. like the job that usually taken is actually a fucking good ass job. It's usually landscaping, like landscaping or like repairmen or something. Like they're usually handymen, if anything, right? I know because I know some. Like it's usually like it's actually either usually handyman and stuff or like big tech jobs and stuff, right? Like that's actually what it actually amounts to. And it's not through like DEI. They just prove their merit by just being good at the job, right? That's the thing. It is MEI, not DEI, with a lot of that. So like that's another thing, right? Like a lot of these guys just fucking excel because they know what they're talking about, right? Like they're the ones that use YouTube to watch John Carmack and tutorials and learn shit, right? So you know, like what white people used to do before they complained about this all day, right? Like, believe it or not, right? This used to be like white YouTube, right? And instead of the morbidly obese like sham it is now, this used to be white YouTube. All right, so let's go. Like this is what white YouTube used to be. All right, now it's like always an Indian guy or like some kid. But like this, yeah, right. Like you're learning like a new skill, right? Let's like talk about like this, right? So let's just, right? And now it still is a significant part, but like that part is hidden by the algorithm.
Already,
right? You have to search this part up consistently. The algorithm starts with like brain rot and morbidly obese retards complaining about shit.
Welcome
This is what
to
you
your
have
very
to
first
search
tutorial.
for. You used to not have to search for this. It actually used to be that like, funny enough, when Obama was president, like that learn to code shit also provided like a boost to the algorithm that he was going to have people learn new skills, right? Like that's another thing, right? The algorithm from 2008 to 2012, 2009 to 2012 was effectively this, right? This was your white algorithm on a new YouTube.
And in this series, I'm going to be teaching you how to make GTK applications in Python. Now, if you guys never heard of GTK before, it's essentially a way that you can make GUI applications.
So like actually learning a new skill, right? So we have, hey, we're going to be dumb and talk about laws, or we're going to be illogical and learn a new skill, right? And actually like better ourselves, right? Like this is the thing, right? What she's talking about is stay the same, make it worse for you, if anything, and just be complacent with the law. This was, hey, you want to learn something. Here, learn it. There you go. Right? Now you're more intelligent, right? This will not make you more intelligent. This will make you more retarded, if anything. It will only ever be a negative on your intelligence to watch this kind of crap, right? Because she's just talking politics as a fucking like communist tactic. You notice it's always divide the country tactics that she's doing, never unite. And there's a reason for that.
Legally?
And there's a reason. That's what they want to eliminate, right? So they want to eliminate the new Boston. They want to eliminate. Oh yeah, funny enough, Khan Academy. Let's go like an Indian guy, right? Like this is like how you used to actually like succeed, right? We have oh wow, primary and secondary sources, and that's a very good good thing to learn right away, right? So we have different things about chemistry, computer science. Wow, it's almost as if like you can actually learn a ton of useful skills, right? At an early age, right? And this used to be like everyone was talking about this kind of stuff, right? This used to be like the best way to learn, and it still is. It's just it's not pushed anymore, right? This used to be, hey, learn some new skill, learn some early to advanced math and science, learn programming, learn cool new skills that will actually be useful to you in your future, versus this dumbass shit, right? And like what it is, here's the actual like T to America. This is to keep it so we all turn into this guy. Yeah. So
The quartering peas on his basement floor, August 17th, 2020.
This guy, this fat retard, is what America wants you to be, right? Only focusing on income or fame, but never actually skills. And the reason why is actually very simple. See, he might be rich, but he's not intelligent. And he's actually like, he has to trust the law, right? He has to trust the law. He has to trust that things are going to get better because of the law, right? And all that. He's constantly drinking and never actually doing anything. His wife cucked him during this video, by the way. I know who did it. It was actually me. I'm the one who fucked her. I was a pizza man. I'm just coming out right now. But anyway, so his wife fucks the pizza man, which is me. This day, right? The day this video was recorded, August 17th, 2020, I fucked the quartering's wife. All right. So like put that in perspective, right? This guy is a cuck. He's a fat cuck. He has a lot of money, but in order to keep getting money, he has to remain miserable and constantly talk about politics. Never about like, hey, that Super Mario Brothers game that he has that actually looks fun, or hey, like this little Pac-Man thing, or hey, maybe he wants to learn how to make a video game, and like look at C++ or SFML or SDL or something, and maybe like he wants to learn to make his own game engine. Maybe he wants to learn like mono game and just have a little bit of a game engine already there, but like slowly like develop like the full game until like he has like Dustin Elysian Tale or something. Like that's what people did back in the day, by the way, by the millions, and it was great, and they still technically do by the millions, and it's still actually great. But like a lot of these like guys will pretend that doesn't exist. People don't want to acknowledge, right, that there are millions of people who are learning new skills every day on YouTube using these things I'm talking about, because if they do, that means they have to get off their fat asses that weigh 9,001 pounds and do work. But people don't want to actually admit that. They want to chase, and so that's what happens. You end up relying on the government in communism to solve your issues, which is what that evil cunt is wanting you to do, right? You want to know who she actually is. So this is who she actually is. So, Xi Jinping. That's who it is. Yeah, Xi Jinping. This is who she is in real life. If you don't believe me, look up a photo of her. This is Leaflet in Azari, like IRL. I'm exposing him. I'm exposing you, right? I know who you are, Winnie the Pooh. Okay, your Winifred the shit will not get away from me. I have a keen eye on Winifred the shit.
Not okay. It's not okay to violate laws of this country. We have millions of people standing in line, taking the test, doing their background investigation, paying the fees that want to come in the right way.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the arrest.
You don't, though. Because you don't. Right here. You don't.
Far numbers released the first day.
In fact, a lot of people who are already here are trying to get legal paperwork and can't because no one wants to give it to anyone, right? The papers are signed. Like a lot of the people I'm talking about that I know of are here legally by the actual original Constitution. First off, property makes you a citizen, but also. Even if you do have the paperwork, they just say no all the time because they're fucking retarded. So, what are we getting at, right? Like, oh, we have millions of people. Well, then say yes. The fuck are you talking about, right? We can't do it because people are here legally. Fuck, you can't. No, you can. You don't want to. You don't want to do your job on that front, right? You only want to do your job when it can be used for politics. I get how it is. I know how it is because I don't like bureaucracies, right? I want to abolish the ATF just like I want to abolish ICE. I want to abolish the FBI. I want to abolish the CIA. I want to abolish all of it. Get rid of those 3-letter fucking agencies that are fucking up the country, that are at the federal level abusing the 10th Amendment rights of every American citizen of the United States of America by existing. Get rid of the NHS, get rid of the DHS, get rid of all of it. All of it. Every single one, crumble it all to dust. Do that, and I'll be happy. But, see, like, that's the thing. Unlike this commie bitch, I actually want to get shit done that will benefit America. Right? I'm not going to be, it's the law, just change the law, it's the law. No. Because here's the thing. You can change the law. You want to know how you change the law? No. Just a simple no from a state changes the law on his end. And if he disagrees, he's violating the Constitution. Which, to be fair, these organizations were designed to do, right? They're designed to be bureaucrats, right? So they're going to say, well, we're actually not the government right now. We're actually a bureaucracy. We're a company, right? That's another, that's like a little way they weasel word it, right? You got a New Yorker in charge and people are acting like weasel words don't exist. He's a fucking New Yorker. Like, everyone from New York knows what that is, right? It's weasel wording, right? It's a very New York thing as a phrase, but like it's common in all of politics. But like I love the New York the Italian New Yorker weasel word is like very much like a good way to say it, right? So weaseling is a very much like just saying like you're doing a lot of whataboutism is a common one, right? But also using the very you're trying to use your opponent's ignorance of the law, of their own law, against them, right? Because legally he is actually incorrect here. The guy in her, she's actually not incorrect here legally. When we go out in the full extent of the law, I know as weird as it says that the government institution is the one breaking the law. Every single time, that's actually what it is. Like, unless it's like a murderer or a rapist, every single time that someone is breaking a law in the United States, it's usually like these guys, not these guys, right?
There were
when it
over
comes to
500,
being wrong in the
and
law
there
that's
were
are being
reports
broken.
that one was a suspected terrorist, others were gang members. Were all of the people who were arrested on day one, as far as you know, convicted criminals or those who had been arrested before?
No. And let me explain that. There are collateral arrests. Where do collateral arrests happen? Sanctuary cities. And this is important we understand that.
To be fair, sanctuary states are bad, right? But no, it's sanctuary states. So like I said, these are like mostly like a couple state politicians do that, right? Now the thing is with those is that they don't do it open to their own state citizens. So this actually is because they violated their own citizens' vote. They can't do that, right? But the stuff in Texas, right, isn't a sanctuary state. As in, they aren't there because they're being sanctuaried. They're there because people are actually using them, right? Which is why, like, people talk about like the the picking the crops and stuff, because that's what those people are doing, right? But they're not just picking the crops. They're actually usually landscaping and actually important, like, good jobs. Like, fuck, picking crops is paid by families. What the fuck, like, is she on with that, right? But like there are like important jobs to our infrastructure that they do, right? And like those jobs, if those jobs go away, like that just doesn't happen anymore, right? Because they're the ones doing that labor, right? And Texas needs some infrastructure labor, right? So like that's how it works, right? They're the ones willing to do it. It's not even the pay; it's that they're the ones willing to do it there, right? You got to remember, a lot of it really is just people are skirting the are skirting the bullshit with the immigration like the immigration side of the government because right they don't do their job in the first place, and so they're like, hey, if you're not going to do your fucking job, and this person like has like whatever, like is it like I said, a lot of these papers they will just say no because they don't want to say yes, right? So we're getting at that is the level we're dealing with, where people aren't doing their jobs on the happy side, but they are doing their jobs on the not happy side, right? And that's communism. Right? That's how communism happens. It's like how like Hitler and Stalin rise to power. It's not good. So like we get it, right? But it also like no.
Sanctuary cities lock us out of the jails. So instead of ICE being able to arrest the bad guy, the criminal alien, in the safety and security of a jail where the officer's safe, the alien's safe, and the public's safe, sanctuary cities release them back in the community, which endangers the community, putting the criminal alien back in the community. But when we find them...
And by the way, a lot of people died from this. Like, there are multiple people who have died because of this policy.
Well, like, yeah, multiple, yes. The law, not really. But yeah, multiple. Like we've seen like that fucking woman who was set on fire. Like a homeless woman was set on fire by a random like piece of shit. Yeah, yeah. Like that guy should fucking like just get the death penalty. Honestly, fuck him, right? Like what are we talking about? Like we're talking about like like deport him and shit. Fucking hang his ass. He set a homeless woman on fire. Hey, why don't we just like get the fucking rope? Like fuck this other bullshit. Like it's rope. It costs $5. You spin it around them and they're dead. Problem solved. Right? When people get to that level, yeah, just break their fucking neck. Just solve the issue immediately. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Like you know how you solve that? A bullet to the head. Right? Like when you're getting to that fucking psychotic levels of evil, bullet to the head is a much more efficient solution to the problem than this legal bullshit anyway, right? Like why are we spending more money than we have to if that's what we're talking about being a problem? Right? If that's what we're talking about as the issue, bullet to the head. Cost what? Like let me look. Let me look at how much a bullet costs to make. So let's see, brass bullet cost of production. I don't want the bullet train, but how much does a bullet cost to produce? So about 15 cents, basically. All right. About 15 cents. Oh, no, 4. It's a 4 cents. All right, so we're going to go. So about 4 cents for a bullet. All right. So it would cost 4 cents to solve the issue. The American one. So why are we doing that, right? Like, if that's the actual issue we're wanting to confront, then just solve it when they do a crime like that. Just spend the 4 cents that it takes to solve it, right? Like, you're not here legally, so we're going to go with the more aggressive approach. But we'll let you stay here, but if you do anything wrong, 4 cent solution. Now, notice that. What that does, right, instantly, what it changes is now, right, they are still there, but they're afraid, right? Because if they do things, 4 cents is all it takes to, like, so it's economically cheap, right? And they're getting in line, right? So they're like, okay, we have to obey the rights of the people here. So if we're here, we have to keep the city safe. We can't just attack everyone, or else this 4 cent solution will kill us. And because it's so cheap and mass produced, and it will win every single time 100%, right? See, I'm not against like killing like fucking people who set people on fucking fire, right? I'm not against that shit. Fucking 4 cent solution, that shit. Gotta call like public bullet executions a 4 cent solution. There we go. I mean, it is right, like, because we're talking about manufacturing, not just like all that. So it's about 4 cents of to produce it. So 4 cent solution.
He's going to be with others most likely.
Well, like $1 trillion solution, or we let them stay until they do something like that. And then 4 cent solution. Well, like, what are we going with? 4-cent solution looks cooler too. Like, look at that. Like the Luigi Mangione solution sounds like a very apt solution to that problem. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, if they're here illegally already and they're setting people on fire, right? But then what it is like they can stay here, but they're treated harsher by like the criminal system, right? Instantly, much easier, right? Much cheaper, much more efficient, works a lot easier, right? And it allows, like, because of that, it allows our borders to even be stronger than this will ever do. And the reason for that is this puts like a precedent of follow our laws and we'll be fine. But you got to follow them, bitch, right? You just got to follow our laws. If you're here, this is what you got to listen to. That'll get them in line. Right? Now, the thing is, she doesn't, because she's a communist, she doesn't want people to just be in line, with things like that, right? Because that's the thing. If that's actually the solution, right? Just, hey, if they're not here legally, we'll let them stay, but they have to follow the law or they get a much harsher penalty for the crime. And if they start doing anything violent, we have a 4-cent solution that is very easy to mass produce, that will be legal and performed in that situation. That deters them way more, but allows them to still keep like. And then like another thing is because we know that like with the sanctuary cities, right? Another thing that allows, right? Because they're in certain areas, we know where they would be. We also can document that, right? Because we know we have control over the borders of that area, right? So you're thinking like what you're thinking it, right? If you're actually thinking and not just being a commie bitch, right? Is that we need to follow the law as it's written, because that's apparent, but like also not follow the law as it's written on like the ways that like would actually give them rights to defend themselves on this. I'm saying, hey, we look at the social contract. Whoever breaches it first is in the wrong, right? Now, but we want like people to like, we want to affect boost the economy, right? That's what our main goal is, right? Our main goal is make the economy better, make like human peoples in here feel safer and stuff. So we can monitor, like we have sanctuary cities, right? It allows us to monitor who's here, who's everywhere anyway, right? And because we have a extremely easy solution, it drives a threat, right? A massive threat of, hey, we could just solve, if you do anything funky here though, it costs 4 cents to solve it. Now they're getting scared. They have to fall in line with the laws of the country. They can be here. They can be here undocumented, but they aren't actually undocumented because here's the other kicker: they're all in one area, right? So they're not really undocumented. We know how many there are and who is in there because we can monitor that, which is what he's doing anyway. So not really even undocumented. They're not here legally, but they are documented effectively because we know how many there are and where they are. Right? If they were undocumented, we wouldn't be able to do that, right? Because there would be no documentation for it. But they aren't. And the other thing is, like, notice how it says undocumented. They aren't actually even here illegally. They're here without papers, right? But because they came through a legal process, they actually aren't here legally. They're here legally. They don't have documentation, but they really still are documented, right? Because we have the papers from the other thing, the asylum shit. And so they're technically here legally, and they are documented by the fact that we know where they are, and can follow them, right? So what we really need to do is press on that system, right? We put some pressure of it costs 4 cents to eliminate you. Right? You hear me, right? And so what that does is only the violent criminals and terrorists who abuse the asylum process are actually have seen as problems. Because another thing is they aren't here legally. It's asylum, right? Like we're not even talking about illegal immigration. We're talking about asylum immigration, which is legal, right? They don't have paperwork because sometimes that gets jumbled up because of the asylum process, right? And so the solution, as I said, if they break a law like burning a woman on fire, 4-cent solution, right? We only kill the ones that cause problems, that are actually tangible problems, right? And it's extremely cheap and effective, right? Instead of having police waltz around doing nothing when they see a man like laughing at and fanning the flames of a woman he set on fire for hours at a time doing nothing. What would the solution what would it have looked like if instead one of those officers just bam cost 4 cents? 4 cents to do that. So we're spending trillions of dollars for a 4-cent solution.
Others. If they're in the country legally, they're coming too.
We're already spending the money we'd be spending on the police force anyway, right? So 4 cents. 4 cents.
But were these arrests all in sanctuary?
Right. If someone is murdering people or that's what we should really do. If someone is murdering people, we should not demonize people who try to fix that, right? Instantly, right? The far left stops doing shit, right? The far right stops doing shit. We instantly go back to a centrist community that focuses on improving the economy, improving people's lives and all that. And then we say no to the far left and far right extremist terrorists that invade our country, and break everything, right? But we don't care if someone isn't violent. And because of that, it's an extremely quick and easy solution to the problem, right? Because if someone's being violent, they broke the social contract. We apply if you break the social contract, you are no longer have the rights granted by it. And one of the rights is we won't shoot you, but we are armed, right? And so now we focus on social contract permanency, right? So anyone who tries to break the social contract is no longer protected by it. That's a solution that is fucking dirt cheap. Because now you can get citizens in the mix. And it's 4 cents for a citizen to solve the problem. See, that's the thing with you and me. I'm I don't fucking care if they're not doing anything wrong though. If they are, we got a solution for that, right? We got a Second Amendment right to solve that solution ourselves, and it costs us 4 cents to do it. You're saying don't go by our rights. Don't go by our rights and solutions that we can do ourselves. Let the government do it themselves and spend trillions of dollars to outsource this solution that could easily be done by United States citizens. See, this is why I don't really like this attitude, right? You are relying on the government for a solution that people should easily be able to fix themselves, right? See, what I see is the government is there to help lazy and evil people, right? Because if you're not lazy and evil, then you don't need the government to solve it.
Sanctuary cities, it doesn't appear so on the first day.
The Claddles, many more. I don't have the exact breakdown, but again,
so the arrests in Massachusetts, in Chelsea, Massachusetts, which the governor said it's great to arrest the criminals.
Lake and Riley
convicted, but were there people taken there as well?
But here's the real thing, right? To be fair, this is a dumb shit, right? We already pick our own crops, the things that the jobs that they take are actually cool fucking jobs, right? People don't want to do them because Americans are lazy, right? It's not crop picking is. people want to eat, so we're gonna do that, right? We're gonna pick our own food. Like that ain't gonna happen, right? Our food's good. We like our food. We want to be fat as fuck. See, we're gonna do this one. Like anyone who thinks we don't already do this is retarded, right? That's not the issue here. But yeah, like, so like I can call her retarded on her logic there, and still call everyone else retarded. Like, we have the right to solve the actual issue, instead of going through a government like mass, like change the issue into something else, and take the right of the citizens to deal with the issue themselves away. Instead of doing that, which would immediately solve the problem, instead of doing the thing that actually solves the problem, which is 4-cent solution if people are becoming terrorists, and killing everyone who hasn't done anything wrong, it costs 4 cents, and any American citizen can eliminate that problem themselves. Right? We don't rely on the government at all. We don't rely on ICE. We don't rely on Donald Trump. We rely on ourselves. Ourselves to keep up our own social contract. Imagine that, right? Imagine if we did a libertarian solution to this instead of a communitarian one, right? It would be so much cheaper, so much more efficient, so much better, right? And because it would basically be, hey, look, it's just a social contract, so like we don't really care about borders. We care about you aren't safe around this society. You're killing people. So how about this, asshole? Bow. It costs 4 cents. Right? Like, this is the thing. I don't like authority. I don't mind citizens. And citizens, right, don't need, right, to be told what to do. But she's wanting citizens to be told what to do too, because like if you're getting any government solution, citizens are being told what to do. Let's have citizens to be able to do this solution instead, right? If people are here illegally, they have to follow the social contract to the letter, and if they break it, bam. Easy solution. It solves it immediately because it gets people in line, right? So now the people who are here legally know that they have to stay in line, and if they try to break it, anyone can fix it. Anyone. It is simple. Just let a citizen do it. Stop having the police have to solve your problems. Stop having the governments have to solve your problems. Solve it yourself, right? We're taking away people's rights to solve the solution themselves. Solve the problem themselves, and we're also like enforcing it. So people who aren't really a problem in most people's eyes are a problem because the government decides, not because the people decide. If you can't see the problem with that logic, you're a fucking enemy to me and the Constitution of the United States of America. And you need to go. And I know where you need to go. You need to go back to China and fucking like pray to Xi Jinping that he fucking like lets you fucking like stay there too. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of my country, commie bitch. Go back to China.
As you say, collateral.
I'm sure they are.
I'll be honest. Just go back to China. I know where you are, where you're from. Go back to China. Right? You should be like, I'm white. No, you're Chinese. Like once you start acting like this, you're infected by Xi Jinping. I don't fucking care. Like, your brain is owned by a Chinese person, so you're Chinese because you're your brain. Your brain is Chinese property. Get the fuck out of here.
About these numbers expanding, 500 the first day,
and like that's the government too. Like here's the thing. I love this. People act like, oh, what if they, here's my thing, right? You can just say, like, anyone should just say no to, like, any of these things, right? And this is the thing. How are your documents on undocumented aliens? This is the actual issue here, right? How do we know that they're all undocumented if how do we have documents on them being undocumented? Well, like, this is a question that people should ask themselves. If they're undocumented immigrants, how do we have documents on them? How do we know who they are, where they're from, and like all that if they're undocumented? Because they're not. Right? It's the asylum process. They have to do documentation to get here. But they might not finish like some extra bullshit once they're here. Because, they're terrorists, right? And like only a few of them are actually undocumented too. That's another thing. He's talking about sanctuary cities. Most of you are documented then, because like you would have to, right? Like the people who commit crimes in like that, those people, first off, they're a very small group, but also more importantly, this might shock you, but when people commit crimes, they tend to be the ones who like skip further documentation, right? Because you're like, fuck you, I'll do what I want, and then you just burn someone on fire, right? But the people who finish it, so like the other thing is these aren't undocumented, these aren't illegal. They're a legal process that's been documented. You can look it up, right? So this isn't even what we're talking about here. We're talking about legal immigrants who came here legally through a process of asylum. We're deciding in post case that they're illegal now. But they were legal because the process was legal. So what are you fucking on? What drugs are you on, right? Like this is the thing. Like, let's ask actual fucking questions, you fucking dumbass commie bitch. Let's ask him.
What do you think you can get up to?
As many as we can get.
What can happen at this?
Rip Lincoln Riley. Okay, none of you cared about her. That's why she was homeless. But all right. None of you cared or will care. You are all snakes. If you cared about her, why was she homeless in New York City when she was from New Jersey, right? Name one person from New Jersey who actually like said hi to her and was nice to her. I can bet you that 0 hands will raise up. 0, because no one actually cared about her. It's the same thing with like Joseph Penny, right? Like Daniel Perry. Like I'm not against Daniel Perry, right? Daniel Perry, in the spur of the moment, was defending himself against a violent psychopath, right? Like we don't know if he was going to murder someone or not, right? We just know he was being violent and he was mentally ill, right? Right? So we know that. And so like in the moment, what we do know, we can affirm that he did nothing wrong. That's not what I'm getting at. But like the idea that like, no. If no one gave a fuck about him, right? You can't get mad that they're dead, right? Right? Like we're applying the logic to both sides, right? I'm not mad that Lincoln Riley's dead because I have no fucking idea who that is. It's a homeless woman from New Jersey, right? No one gave a fuck about her. No one will give a fuck about her. No one even using the rest in peace Lincoln Riley thing cares about her. No one at all. Her own family, right? Lincoln Riley's family didn't give a fuck about her. That's why she was homeless. So, right, like the thing is, we're doing like now she did nothing wrong, like Joseph Perry did, which is why the guy who killed her is a criminal. But pretending we cared about her, right? No one cared about her in that situation at all. The only reason anyone even gives a fuck about her is we saw her lit ablaze for several minutes and people did nothing. So we saw that no one gave a fuck about her firsthand, right? No one gave a fuck about that woman. No one. I'm just being honest. No one did. So anyone saying rip Lincoln Riley, fuck off. You didn't give a fuck about her at all. You didn't even know who she was. No one who did gave a fuck about her either. That's why she was homeless in the first fucking place. So like, if we're gonna go like, give a fuck about her first, then right? Give a fuck about her when she's alive. Don't do this. I gave a fuck now that she's dead. Like now that I saw her burn to a crisp in real time, I saw the fruits of my lack of care for that woman be set up like as she was set ablaze and laughed at by the guy who set her ablaze, and the cops did nothing to stop the suspect or help her out until she was already dead. Right? Oh, I totally care about that woman that I've never met that was homeless because no one gave a fuck about her. Bull fucking shit. Bull fucking shit. Right? Don't pretend to care now. Right? At that point, don't pretend to care. Right? Like you don't care, you're pretending to at that point.
This point, given your manpower.
Look, I think we're in the beginning stages. We're bringing more resources into this operation.
Lake and Riley would have been alive if ICE had been allowed to take. She would also have been alive if a citizen would just got some balls and shot the guy and then saved it. People don't have those balls, right? Because people don't want to do that, right? So here's what it comes down to, right? If you're a citizen and you have the right and ability to do something, if you don't use it, you're the reason it happened, right? Ultimately, there is no such thing as an innocent bystander. Either you did something to help prevent it, or you allowed it to continue to happen, right? I'm eliminating the trolley problem. If you don't try to save someone in the moment, you cause it to happen. Not making a decision is a big decision. All right. But if you would not make a decision in the trolley problem, right, you are causing that decision to happen. You are making a big decision by your choosing not to, right? I'm eliminating that fucking retarded excuse. You are if we're doing the trolley problem, right? I don't want to cause the death of one person to save 5, right? Then you are causing the death of 5 to save 1, right? We're not doing that. Your inaction is an excuse. Stop being a pussy, right? Stop. That needs to go away. That is a bad ethical fallacy, right? Just off face. Not making a decision is a decision. All right? You are actively choosing to avoid decision making in an important time, right? So yeah, not making a decision is a massive decision. It doesn't matter what you're thinking. By refusing to act, you're making a decision. So if anyone who is on there, you also helped take her life, right? The people who are recording, the police who did nothing, everyone involved in that area took her life that day, right? There are some more responsible than others, but all it took was one person to set her ablaze. It took an entire subway station to actually murder her. Right? That's the thing. It took one person to set her on fire. It took an entire subway station full of dozens of people for her to die. The only way for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing, right? So why are we pretending like that's false here? Good men did nothing, right? Evil prevailed. That's how that works. But notice, what I did was give the citizens of the United States both the authority to solve it and the moral responsibility to. I'm saying don't be fucking lazy with your rights. This bitch is saying give us your rights and we'll do the decision making for you. Fuck that shit. Right? I'm not with that. Your inactions are actions. Fuck that shit. The trolley problem is a lie. There is no getting out of that, right? The philosophy is either you cause 5 deaths or you cause 1. There is no, you chose to let the 5 people die. No, you chose, right? You chose to not do anything and 5 people died, right? That's what we're getting at with the trolley problem. There is no, you didn't physically, no, you chose, your brain cells are physical too, right? You chose to not save 5 people. You said that 1 person is more important than 5. You also said that doing something to save people is worse than is worse if it has any negative consequences than not doing anything and letting more people die. Those are your decisions. Those are your actual actions, right? You chose those things. Your actions made that happen. I'm not letting that like bullshit slide anymore. Right? Everyone in that subway is guilty of her murder, right? Everyone in that subway. We're getting to the nitty-gritty, right? If you allow someone to break the social contract and do nothing to help solve it, you're part of the problem too, right? Now the thing is, of course, if you don't actually do the violent crime, right, you're not enough of the part of the problem that but what you are is you're enough of a part of the problem that we can get you in line, right? Get the fuck. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be mean to you, right? I'm gonna be mean to every single person on that subway who let her fucking die. Yeah, fuck you. Right? Like, if you stand by and do nothing, seeing someone be led ablaze, you don't care. So no one on the subway can say they cared. No one in the police department can say they cared. Like, obviously the villain didn't care, and none of the people involved in her life up to that point cared. So like what we're getting at is effectively a is a book written by someone who basically saw a case where, like Lincoln Riley, where it was terrible her entire life that led to that moment, and no one did anything, right, the entire time at all, right? And so the book, there's a little bit of fiction there, where he invents a character that cared for her, right? Like that's what The Girl Next Door is. It's an actual case where a dude made a book because he saw a very, very fucking traumatized woman who was murdered by her own mother, right? And saw that at 0 points in her life did anyone care about her. And so he wrote a book to invent someone who cared about her. That's basically what this is. You are writing a book to invent someone who cared about Lincoln Riley. None of you did. Not a single one of you. Don't fucking lie. If you did, you would have did something to prevent it somewhere. You had the ability to. You did not, right? You could have helped with mental health, right? You could have done that, right? You did that. You could have given her a hug. You could have stopped her you could have stopped the guy who lit her ablaze, right? You could have, tried to put her fire out. You did nothing. You all sat and watched it, right? Like, what we're getting at, right, is I am very much a society falls because the people do, right? Like, this is not caring. This is letting bad shit happen, right? Because I'm very conservative, but I'm conservative in the way that matters. I am small government, and I want people to help each other. I want people to actually care about their fellow human beings. And because of that, I am pushing not this bullshit of, oh, the government authority is okay. More government authority. Give me more of that, right? Don't make me do anything to solve the problem. Let this old fucking wrinkled asshole who looks like my ball sack on a bad day be the solution to the problem. Don't let me be the solution to the problem. Let him be. I don't want to take more responsibility for my own failures. I want him to. That's another thing. You're basically pushing your moral responsibilities onto him, right?
As a whole of government, we're going to have DOJ assistance.
Like, people no, that's Christianity there, right? Like, Christianity isn't communism, motherfuckers. Christianity is, if you see someone suffering, you try to put some effort into caring, right? Like, communism is you want the government to care for them. Christianity is you want you to, right? Like, that's the thing. Christianity is you care about your fellow citizen, right? Right? Communism is the government does, right? So this is what we're doing. We're doing communism here. Christianity is all about you. You're the reason why this happened. Not the government, not you. You had the ability to solve the solution and you chose to do nothing. There were many solutions, both violent and non-violent, you could have taken, and you chose not to do them. And people are like, but we demonized Daniel Perry. Yeah, they did, right? Like, I mean, Daniel Penny. Yeah, they did. They're the enemy, right? The enemy is always going to demonize Christ, right? They always are, right? And Christ always has to prevail, right? But the only way Christ prevails is for people to actually be Christian, right? And Christianity is about taking your own responsibility and that includes for your inactions, not just your actions. If you see someone helpless and struggling and you do nothing, you are a Satanist by default. That is un-Christ-like behavior. You saw a person struggling, maybe it was with their own sin, it doesn't matter. That's not what the Bible commands, motherfucker. You didn't help them. You didn't help them, right? So anything that happens to them from that point forward is partially because of you. That's what Christianity really does. A lot of people don't want to admit that. But what Christianity does is it puts the responsibility on the world's evils on you individually. Every individual who lets evil continue to happen and doesn't try to make the world a better place is, by definition, a sinner. That's Christian's actual policy, right? That's actually Christ's policy. The onus of immorality is on you as an individual. You cause all the sins in the world by doing nothing to prevent them. People might not like these words, and by might I mean they won't, right? Because it means that I'm calling them lazy, sinful bastards. But I'm not wrong. They are. And that's the issue here, right? Like, if you don't care to do your things yourself, you're not good, right? Like, and this is a very much, like, this is the Christianity I'm pushing, right? You need to fix things. And you need to not rely on the government to fix them. The government is not the ally of Christ. The government never was. What was the mark of the beast? 666, right? What did that translate to? Nero Caesar, right? The governor of the Roman Empire at the time, right? The root of all evil is the government. It says it in the Bible, clear as crystal. I mean, it's less clear, I guess, now, but it was clear as crystal at the time that the government was the root of all evil. And really, it's not the government, it's the reliance on government, right? Trusting government to solve your problems instead of God and yourself, right? You and God solve problems. The government does not. The government will never fall under God because, by definition, it is an institution of power. That means it defies God by its mere existence. The onus of any problem is on the citizens themselves. Okay? Let's get some actual Christianity in here. Oh, yeah, let's get some preaching in here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
And like the DOD piece, helping build infrastructure, helping the transportation, that takes ICE, badges and guns out of those duties and puts them on the street.
I want to go back to...
Okay, right, it does. But you know how we solve that, right? So, say a prayer with me, right? let's get full on with the Christianity, right? So, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Right? Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins as you forgive those who sin against us. Right? In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Right? Right? Let's start with that, right? Now, let's actually break that down, right? So, give us this day our daily bread means, of course, the necessities, right? So we need certain things, right? We need certain things, so give us what we need, right? Don't give us what we want, give us what we need, right? And forgive us our sins, right? So we have to forgive us our sins. And then what's the next part, though? those who sin against us, our trespassers or transgressors, whatever, right? So what that means is you have to also forgive others of their sins, right? Right? But it doesn't mean, however, that you have to put up with it, right? In other words, if someone is being violent, right, to other people, not to you, but to others, right? Because this is the thing. The way, like, the turn the other cheek thing is that if someone is violent against you, you don't necessarily have to defend yourself. You're defending other people, right? That is ultimately where, right, like the discrepancy between like Christianity and a lot of people lie, right? You are there to guide other people to Christ if you have found him, right? So you turn the other cheek when someone harms you. You don't turn the other cheek when someone harms someone else. Right? Right? Like, you get what I'm saying, right? So, like, even you individually, yeah, you don't care about yourself because you already got Christ, right? If you die, you go to heaven, right? So, you're not caring about yourself. You're caring about other people, right? So if you see injustices done to another person, enemy or not, you help them, right? And by doing that, what you do is you sow the seeds of Christ in them, right? See, you're doing that because Christ damages that it puts in yourself, right? And so that shows, wait, this person cares about me because of Christ more than they care about themselves, to the point where they're willing to put themselves in trouble to save me, and they don't even know me, right? And so what that does is start to put seeds of, there's something about that Christ guy, right? And so now what you see is that, because it's like you're forgiving people who sin against you, but you're not forgiving people who sin against other people, right? And the reason why that's important, right, and a very important distinction, is that it's basically saying your personal enemies are not the actual enemies. The enemies of other people are your enemies. As in, once you give to Christ, right, you are saying, Lord, thy Father, my enemies don't matter. What matters is the enemies to Christ's children, right? And now, like, that's what matters, right? Like, now, okay, you are preventing other people from suffering. That you're making that your priority. And you're making that your priority as a way to spread the word of your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ onto other people. And now they will be more inclined to listen, right? And the thing is, this is a murderous kindness, right? In that, like, it will murder the other religions, basically, because no other religion is like that, right? No other religion relies on this principle of, you are not who you care about anymore because you're already saved. You're saving other people because they deserve it, right? Because they're in harm's way when you see them. You're paying Christ's message forward, never back, forward, right? And so you will take the other cheek, but you will not let them but at the same time, they will not strike someone else's. Like, that's the real, like, meat and potatoes of this, right? Because you are already saved, you don't need to care about yourself anymore, but you do need to care about others. If you are not caring about other people, whether they sin or not, you are not a Christian. I just put that forward, right? And yes, the life of a Christian will be hard, but you know what it won't be? Bad. It's ultimately, when you actually know what they mean by things, every single thing in the Bible is true, right? When it comes to the moral teachings of Christ, and and the historicity of his life and his miracles. The miracle of Christ really is putting the onus of action on Christians, but also the onus of evil, right, like the onus of evil on the onus of evil of the world's evils on Christians to solve, but also the onus of protection to be on other people, right? You are caring about other people, and because you are caring about your fellow man over yourself, right? Like, here's the real kicker. Not only will that bring more people to Christ, but it unifies you in camaraderie, right? Because now you're both Christians. You're still keeping that. It's not like you aren't letting that other Christian like go now that they're turned to Christ. No, you're still keeping them around, right? You're still caring about them. You're still furthering the message while caring about each other more than yourselves, right? And because you're continuing to bond through that camaraderie, you get what's known as the blood of the covenant being thicker than the water of the womb. Because that's another thing. That's why, like, Nazis are fucking cunts. The blood of the covenant, not the blood of the family. The blood of the family isn't a thing. It's the blood of the covenant of Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, is thicker and stronger than the water of the womb. You are not born, you are born again. And that is that is what makes you strong. You save each other, and you will care about each other. And you will keep doing so, and no one will stop you. That camaraderie will form a bond that is unbreakable. And when that unbreakable bond gets threatened, you know what to do. Right? And notice how that has instantly creates morale for troops, right? You start to win wars with that, right? When it comes down to people are fighting your brother in Christ, right? And notice, so this basically it's what I call you know what I call it? Righteous indignation, right? Your enemies are only your enemies because they harm people you love. They're not your enemies because they harm you. They're your enemies because they harmed the people you love and care for, right? So ultimately, those enemies are your opposite, are not your opposition as because they oppose you. They're God's opposition because they oppose God's people, right? And now you've got that strength through your unity, right? And because you're saying you care about people who harm others, who aren't giving themselves to Christ, right? Now, because those bonds become unbreakable with you and your fellow Christians, and you're only focusing on those who do evil against others when it comes to any violence that you purvey, that sword that you're bringing eventually leads to peace, because now you're not killing people who aren't harming you. You're killing people who are harming other people, right? So either your brothers in Christ or people who are yet to be saved, but not people who are openly choosing to harm those who have yet to be saved or your brothers in Christ, right? So those people you don't help, right? Because they are saying that they don't want Christ, right? They will not want Christ because they're willing to harm other people to get to you, right? To get you to come, right? So you come anyway, and you show them. You're not going to stop because you're not going to harm your brothers in Christ, and you're not going to harm that person because you're going to save them. And notice how we've got that whole morale, that whole movie level morale there, right? You say that's fake. No, that isn't fake. That's what Christ wants. He wants people unified so that they will serve each other and in doing so serve God. Right? And that is ultimately why I don't like this let the government do it attitude. It's not good. It's not going to solve your problem. If you aren't willing to step up yourself, as I said, Daniel Penny, you're not solving the problem. You're causing it to get worse. So fuck this commie asshole. Like the video is just the same shit over and over, by the way.
Executive actions. The administration
Like you
said it
can
will no longer
watch
tell
the
ICE
video,
agents
and
they
it's
have
just
to
like
avoid.
the reporter is dumb. She's asking the dumb questions. The guy is answering the dumb questions with a smarmy attitude, and she's kind of laughing at the smarminess of him and dunking on the dumbness of her. Right? We get the idea. It's the entire fucking debate. But ultimately, this is just a ruse to let the government solve your problems instead of you. Don't fall for that ruse. Follow Christ. Let yourself be the solution, right? But the thing is, right, I'm also putting a caveat there. You can solve the solution, but you have to care about others to do it, right? You have to care about other people to do that, right? So we're not attacking someone because they don't follow Christ or whatever. We're attacking someone because they're harming someone. In their own actions, as we see them, they're causing harm to that person, right? You got to actually have an actual system of morals, right? Where caring about preventing harm is the actual issue. So yeah. Let's solve it let's solve it through Christ, the Christian way. Not through godless nations, the atheist way. And yes, we are a godless nation because you know what? And here's the thing, like, did you know why the First Amendment is there? It's not to declare us as a secular nation. We are a Christian nation, or at least we were supposed to be. The reason why is that a state religion is ultimately against Christ, right? You have to choose to be born again, right? And that doesn't happen if we have a state religion. You are choosing to become born again because the love of Christ and the camaraderie of Christians makes you want to worship him yourself. That is what a Christian nation would do. So ultimately, you would always have to have the right to not be Christian, because it's not up to the government to force Christ on people. It's up to the person to choose, right? And the way you get them to choose is to actually do your job as a Christian yourself and bring them up through Christ. Yeah, like why is it that like a fucking like constantly abused person like me understands the Bible, but like this person, like, now to be fair, like this person is like mocking what is it, like this person, right? And to be fair, she is to be mocked, right? But she's mocking her for being a woman. I'm mocking her for not pressing the unity, right? She needs to press the actual message of Christ, which I think I just did perfectly well. Like, you care about other people, and that rises people above, but she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to do that. And that's what it comes down to. Apathy is the enemy of Christ because it leads to hatred and inaction. Like, love is the message of Christ ultimately, right? Because if you love someone, you want to care for them. And you will not care if it's the government or, you won't care if it's the government. You won't care if it's, an ex-friend of yours, right? You won't care who it is. You will not let harm come to the innocent. Those who are not harming others are innocent in Christ's eyes. We are not innocent of sin, but we are innocent of, deserving punishment, basically, right? Is like how it goes. So, yeah. If you are not driving people to Christ, you're ultimately the enemy, and this is driving people away from Christ. Just full stop. Like, the entire channel is building up an attitude of apathy. The exact opposite of love, right? If apathy is the enemy of love, and Christ's message is love, then apathy is the direct enemy of Christ, and that means it's evil. It's satanic. It's Sataniel's sin, right? A lot of people might not be like, what the name is that? So you might have heard Lucifer fell, right? So Lucifer, notice how like there's no L there, right? Like all the other angels that are named have L in their name. So like the The name of the actual angel is not Lightbringer. It's that which stands in direct opposition to God. Satanael, right? Satan Ael, right? Which, as I said, stands for he who stands in direct opposition to God, right? Satan means he who opposes. Well, you can oppose things that aren't God, right? There's in the Hebrew, like of the Old Testament, Satan is also used for an angel that guides someone by standing as an obstacle to their sins, right? So that's another use of Satan where it's not bad, right? Satanael is ultimately evil because Satanael is what sin is. It's standing in direct opposition to God, right? And then obviously Lucifer, Lightbringer, right? Lucifer is the devil, right? He's the one who brings to light your sins and transgressions. That the point of the devil is to accuse you, right? He prosecutes you. He's like, you did this bad shit, and so you shouldn't be Christian, right? His job is to accuse you of failing Christ, right? Christ's standard. And like his evil is to say because you didn't follow Christ, you should continue not to. Right? Like that's the devil's tactic. The Satanael's tactic is to just oppose. The devil's tactic is to accuse you so you continue to oppose. Right? Like he accuses you in a way of you don't really care, right? But doesn't actually show you how to care. Because his job is to accuse, but never to help, like never to actually like give the answer. And like when I feel like people like looking up names will actually like learn what this like because these names mean something. They aren't just names; they mean something. In the Bible, they mean something. Just like the beast refers to the government, right? 666 or 616 refer to Nero Caesar's name because he was the government of Rome at the time, right? Like when Revelation was written, Nero Caesar was the government. He was nicknamed the Beast, by the way, outside the Bible before Revelation was written, and it was written that way because he did a genocide against Christians. People might not know that. That's why the fires of Rome gave him the nickname of the Beast, right? The Beast, 616, is the government. The Beast caused a genocide against Christians because he saw their camaraderie as evil, right? So yeah, but notice he failed, right? Because that camaraderie was strong enough that it didn't work. We need to bring back that focus on camaraderie, though, because that is what worked. That is what caused us to survive a genocide against the government before. We need to bring back the actual attitudes that we need, right? None of this, if you sin, you're evil and you need to go to hell, right? That's not how it works, right? Everyone sins. All have sinned, right? According to Jesus Christ. Are we going against Christ's word to say because that's what we'd have to do to say that, right? All have sinned. Okay, if all have sinned, then the idea of just sinning isn't a transgression itself. Anyway, I'm tired of communism. Bye, communism.